Welcome to the show, everybody. Today is the start of season 3. Super excited. Was talking pre-show. Probably having 6 planets in retrograde is not the best time to be recording episodes. Had lots of technical difficulties this morning, but we have made it on, and so excited to be here. And as I have been alluding to in the comments on all of social media, we have a huge announcement for today. And I'm just going to say there are no guarantees that I'm not going to cry this morning. So big changes, exciting things for everybody. It's a lot has happened in the 2 years since we started Voices of the Goddess, and life evolves, things change. And, I always, whenever anything changes, sometimes you try and judge it as good or bad. And one of the things I've really learned a lot, especially probably in the last 5 years of my life, is just release all judgment of everything and wait and see how it unfolds. Because sometimes you think something is not good, and then you realize like it all happened for a reason to bring me, just like the pandemic. We always talked about it. Like, this podcast probably never would have existed if it had not been for the pandemic. So many awesome, amazing things come out of things that we may judge differently in the beginning. So Allyson, you have had a lot, and it's been one of these transforming throughout the last couple years. Mm-hmm. And it's been exciting, I'm sure challenging and everything, but why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what's going on in your life?
Well, I think the best place to start is when we started this podcast, because it was in the beginning of the pandemic. We first started talking about it. And actually at that time, the job that I had at the time completely ceased to exist within 2 days. And I was kind of just searching and almost like you just said, just kind of seeing how everything would unfold. And we had the opportunity to do this podcast. And I thought, this is perfect. This is great, because I really don't know what's happening in my life right now. But if I can support other women through this will be awesome. And it really was. And so all of this happened all about the same time. Lost my job. We started the podcast shortly thereafter. Right before that, I started doing some basically virtual assistant work for a woman in her company. And it just kept evolving. I look back on it. It's been over 2 years now. And it's really amazing how, however you want to call it, God, the universe, whatever you want to say, it puts you in these places where you're meant to be. You just don't know you're meant to be there until you get there. And now I look back and I'm like, that was totally meant to happen. So I am now the operations director for a company called the Goal Digger Girl, not gold, goal, like GOAL, and is owned by a woman. Her name is Kimberly Olson. And she's really just kind of taken, online social media for women that are building their business. She's really just kind of taken it by storm. And she's got multi-million-dollar company within just a few short years. And we have a team of 11 now that we all work all remote. So we don't have an office. We don't have a physical location. We're all over the place. And yeah, it's one of those things where I know this is where I'm supposed to be. I never thought this is where I would be, but now that I'm in it, I'm like, this is totally it. This is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to be this support for her, for the company, for the team. And I love every minute of it. Sometimes I get a little nauseous too, because it's a lot of unknown, you know what I mean? Because the company's only not even 5 years old. So, and I've been with her for 2 years. So it still is, but I love that because it's challenging. It's always something different. And we're really impacting women's lives. And that's what I wanted to say was you and I started this podcast because we really wanted to impact women's lives. We wanted to support them as they were going through the pandemic. And my place in supporting women's lives has just changed a little bit. Not even changed. It's just evolved. It's just different for me now. And I absolutely love it. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. So I'm really excited about it. And because of that, being the operations director, I really, it's a full-time job, and I'm almost 52, and I don't want to spend all of my time. I want to enjoy my family too, and enjoy my weekends and do all the things that I love to do, travel to visit my kids. And the podcast, as much as I love it and have loved being part of it, just wasn't something that I could continue to keep on my plate at this time. So I have relinquished my co-hosting duties. And Julietta and I, well, Julietta mostly, but Julietta and I found an amazing replacement. She's incredible. She's going to be perfect and way better than I ever was. So I love her, and I'm excited for you guys. So
she's not going to be way better. She's going to be different.
She's going to be different and awesome. Yeah.
And, when, in my intuitiveness, I knew this was happening I think I knew this was happening before you knew this was happening.
Probably.
And, so I had a lot of conversations about the show. If Allyson doesn't continue, do I keep the podcast going?
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things has been the feedback that I've gotten from people on the show, and so many women, thank you for that episode. That was exactly what I needed to hear at this time. And it was, so our new co-host is one of the people that I talked to about, like, what do you think I should do? And, but then when it came down to it, I was like, I really don't want to do this alone. Like, it's having another woman to support the interviews, the conversations, and all of the work. I don't think people realize how much work goes behind, bringing out a podcast that, like, you sit down, you talk, you record it, and you put it out there. But there really is a lot of work that happens into this. And so I, decided it's important for this podcast to go on, and I can't do it alone. And so I really didn't think this person was going to say yes, because she is one of the busiest women that I know, but she's so powerful and so influential. And there is nobody else that I would want to take on this role with you leaving, Allyson. So I'm super excited to bring her on. So I think we need a drum roll. I wish we had a drum roll. There you go.
I can't even.
I know. But dun, 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 dun. Here is our new co-host.
Yay!
You guys, it's so crazy to sit there and hear you retell that story. But hi, and before I even introduce myself or anything about myself, I have to start with absolute gratitude, specifically to both of you. But Allyson, I mean, I'm so excited for what you're doing. And I know that feeling, that excitement of going into something new that's like exciting and terrifying at the same time. Also what's happening for me here right now. I talk a lot, but I don't get recorded a lot. So this will be a new and exciting adventure for me too. But I'm so grateful to you guys and everything that you've created here. I am consistently blown away at your viewership, our viewership, if I may. The fact that folks are listening from all over the world, the fact that what we say impacts another person. And that's something I've always believed, is that the right word or the wrong word can really steer someone's life. So this is a very powerful podcast. It's a very powerful opportunity. I can't thank you enough, Allyson, for even just creating the space for and then I happen to be able to step into it. So I really want to just start with that. Thank you. I'll do a little intro since we have such a large viewership. I want everybody to get to know me a little bit. So I'm Graciela Valdez. I am a portrait photographer. I'm based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I specialize in boudoir and personal branding. I always say I take pictures of who you are and not what you look like. So as much as photography is my passion, what I really, really love, my heart, is connecting with people. I get a lot of comments that my studio is a safe space and that people feel really good when they walk in. Probably also because I have it decorated to look as if I didn't have children. So it's not messy at all. I have a lot of velvet furniture and it's really pretty. But I feel like this is a sacred space, and I'm loving having this podcast here in this space. It just so aligns with everything that you guys are doing and how I feel. I just feel really at home with you guys. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for stepping up, because honestly, if you didn't say you were going to take this on, probably I wouldn't have continued. Mm-hmm. It would have been hard. Everything is easier when you do it together. And that's kind of the whole podcast, you know, bringing us all as a collective of women together. We can do this. And
I don't think I would have let you leave the podcast. I'll be honest with you. I would have yelled at you a lot more.
That's awesome.
This is so valuable. This is so amazing, you know? Yeah. And what's really funny is that when, Allyson, I don't know if you heard this story, but when Julietta approached me and she said, you know, I was kind of thinking about, like, I just wanted to propose this to you. And I was like, oh my God, just last week I was thinking, should I offer to Julietta? Like, maybe she needs my support. Maybe I should.
I love that.
And then I was like, well, nobody wants to hear me. And then, you know, like, you know how you do, right? Just like all your self-doubts. But, you know, if I truly, and this is my big goal going into this year in 2023, is trusting that first gut feeling. You know, I can always second guess myself, but that first gut feeling was like, it was the message. It was just the message that I got, that was like, Julietta needs me. And I don't even know why I thought that, you know, it just kind of came into my head. And then of course, like, logical Graciela was like, no, she doesn't. She's fine, blah, blah, blah. So I'm glad we were honest and, you know, easy with each other.
Well, that, like, such a lesson there too, because I struggled with asking you, because I know how much you love me and would want to support me, and I know how much you have going on in your life, and I know this is a stretch for you too. And the goddesses thank you for saying yes. But what I was gonna say is, like, you know, we decide that what the answer is before we ask the question, and we stop ourselves from asking the question. You don't know the answer until you ask the question. And that is something I've struggled with my whole life. Things that I think that I'm going to get a no on, I just don't ask. And I've definitely been learning to ask more. Thank God I've done that. So then I was brave enough to ask you and get the yes.
Well, I'm super excited. I was just going to say, you know, when my kids have to make decisions, I have 13-year-old twins. And when they have to make decisions, I tell them, flip a coin, but don't worry about what happens when the coin lands. What you hope for while the coin is in the air, that's your answer. You know,
I love that. That's awesome.
Great tool. All right. So every season we've adjusted the format a little bit, changed our questions up. So we do have new questions, and I'm just going to say, well, Graciela, your history leads you to be very language oriented. So, you know, when I put it out there, we need more questions. Graciela, like, just instantly comes with these beautifully worded questions, and we don't have time to ask you all of them, Allyson, but we are going to ask you a couple, kind of introduce them gently to our audience. And Graciela, since you're new here, why don't you practice?
My first official question. I love this. You know, because I love so much your new avocation, Allyson, I wanted to ask, tell us, like, what is one of your best success stories within your new venture that buoys you to continue so passionately with what you're doing? Like, I'm a storyteller. I love juicy stories. Give me a juicy story. What's a great success story in your biz?
Okay, so this actually just happened. So about a year ago, so Kimberly, who's the owner of the company, she's a visionary. She constantly is like, I have this idea. And the rest of us are like, okay, yeah, we'll make that happen. Like, not sure how we're going to, but we're going to make it happen. So about a year ago, she came to us and she said, I want to do a live in-person conference that supports women entrepreneurs. And I want to bring all these amazing top women speakers together. And it's going to be this big thing. And, picture a Tony Robbins, but female, right? Like big event, big lights, cameras, music, the whole thing. And we were all like, yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it. Yeah, well, then you start planning one of those things and you're like, oh my Lord, what have we gotten ourselves into? So we had our live event 2 weekends ago in Nashville, Tennessee at the Gaylord Opryland. And about 2 or 3 months ago, things don't always go how you think they're going to. They don't always exactly work out the way that you envision it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And so some of the things that we had envisioned just weren't coming to fruition. And so it was getting a little frustrating for everybody, but we all, we're all very, number one, we're resourceful, we're positive, we're going to pick up, we're going to figure it out, we're going to find a way to make it happen. So we just kind of all picked up our bootstraps and kept moving forward. But I would say the 3 weeks leading up to the conference were some of the most difficult weeks of my life. Like, it was nonstop. Things were always happening. It's amazing when you're planning an event like that, how often things change. Like, you think you have the schedule set and then, oh no, a speaker can't come now. Or this person we had someone who canceled the day of while we were in Nashville because she lost her voice completely and she could not speak. So this is the kind of things that you're dealing with. And most of us all of us on the team have never done an event like this. So we had hired this amazing woman. Her name is Ruby Kay. She was awesome. She does event planning. So she was really our backbone to all of this, but still she's only one person. Like, we all still had to do our fair share. But I think you asked me, what is one success? So we walked out of that conference and it was definitely stressful for the 3 days. We were going nonstop. We were up at 5 a.m. We were up till 10, 11 p.m. going. We had, I think it ended up being about 200-ish people there. We had 40 different speakers that we were juggling.
That's amazing.
We had all these, breakout sessions. We had lunch here, lunch there. We had all these moving parts to it. And we walked out of it. It was a huge success. We've heard nothing but amazing feedback. When's the next one? You have to do it again. The revenue we brought in was amazing. Everything about it ended up being so incredible. And the thing that I love about what we did was we worked as a team. It wasn't just one of us. We worked as a team and we impacted hundreds of women's lives. I'm getting chills talking about it. These women were coming up to us on Saturday, because it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Friday was a VIP day. And then Saturday, Sunday was the general conference. I had people coming up to me on Saturday, this is changing my life, and, crying and excited. And we as women, we get so stuck in the day-to-day, every day. Sometimes we forget to dream. Sometimes we forget that we can have all these amazing things. And this was a chance to show these women what you can have. And it's been amazing because we're all on social media. So now following their feed and everything that seeing all their posts now and the posts right after the conference, we're all oh my gosh, it was amazing. And they were posting pictures, but now it's changed to, you can see how what's happened to them, they're taking to impact their communities and their networks. And it's been really awesome. So I would say over the last couple of years in my new position now, that would be one of the most successful because we'd never done it before, ever. Like none of us.
Amazing. I mean, I've participated in events like that before, planning them and putting them together. And you're right. It is like climbing a mountain with no mask. Like you just go, go, go. You had some really incredible challenges in there. A speaker canceling the same day is pretty intense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just shifted. We shifted this. Oh, and I spoke on stage. I didn't even tell you that part. I got to speak on stage. I've got pictures. I've got my whole little microphone, and it was super fun. It was fun.
Love it. The best part of what you said for me was the impact on the hundreds of women, because the truth is, I think we would all do what we do, even if it just impacted one person, right? Because it's the pebble in the pond. It only takes one to create that ripple effect. Imagine the hundreds, which exponentially turn into thousands in just a day, right? Like it really is amazing. Yeah. What a great story.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yay. And I can't wait till we can get together and you can tell me more about it.
I know.
I've only gotten little bits and pieces from it. So I'm going to ask you the other question.
Okay.
Is what is one piece of advice you've gotten from another woman that has changed your life?
So I thought about this one because obviously I'm 51. There's a lot of things that women have taught me, but in where I'm at now, or I should say, and I hate saying, but, and where I'm at now, one of the pieces of advice that I was given was actually given to me by Kimberly when I first, so I didn't say this part in the story, but when I actually connected with Kimberly first, I actually was this client of hers. I started as she was my coach, basically. And we had a coaching call together. And one of the first things that she said to me during that coaching call was how important it is to be resourceful. Like if you don't know something, if you aren't sure, don't go to anyone and say, I don't really know, or I don't know how to, like, there's a way to figure it out. We have Google. Like we have this whole saying now in our company, Google that shit. Like there's Google. We call it #GTS. You can Google it. So, and literally you can Google anything. So I think having that mindset of being resourceful, I really took that to heart when she shared that with me over 2 years ago. And I believe that's part of why I'm in the position I am now in her company, because anytime she gave me anything, and whether I knew how to do it or not, I'm like, yep, I got it. And I figured it out and I found the answer. And if I struggled and I wasn't totally sure, I would always go to her, but I'd always go to her with information. I wouldn't just come back. I would say to her, hey, we talked about me doing this and this is what I found. How do you feel about going in that direction? And she would either be like, yeah, that's awesome. Or, well, that's not quite what I was thinking, kind of a thing. So I think being resourceful, and if that's the one thing, I say it to my kids all the time now, be resourceful, figure it out, look it up, find a way. It's there, it exists. You have to be willing to go that extra step and figure that out. And being resourceful also helps you to be forward thinking. So when you're adulting, for any young people that are listening, or even for us older women, when you're, in your, whatever you do in your family life, your business life, whatever it is, being forward thinking, I think is such a skill that's important. And it's something that you can get good at. Like you can start, you can sit there and say, okay, what are all the possible scenarios of this situation? And how's the best way to be resourceful and get us where we need to go, right? So I think that would be my best piece of advice, is be resourceful. #GTS.
Well, and how many times when we started this we had zero clue how to start a podcast. And I think our phrase was always, everything is figure outable.
Yeah. And that was the same idea. And that's part of where I got that from when we started this podcast. I can remember thinking to myself, if Kimberly can do all this stuff, well, we certainly can do she's amazing, but we are too, and we can figure it. You know what I mean? So it's always that mindset of, I think that's the other thing, is having that mindset of you are capable. You can do it. You just, so many times, you said in the beginning, Graciela, I call it that mean girl voice that we all have. Our mean girl gets in there and starts telling us things we can't do. And it happens to me all the time, but you have to talk back to her and basically tell her, not happening. Right. So.
Yeah, I will tell you that this comes up in my studio all the time.
I bet.
The other day, I had a client who she wanted a lot of props to go with her outfits, and so she brought in bags and bags and bags of, you know, tiaras and feather boas, right? Like all of these fun things. And I'm like, great. And then she looks around and she's like, well, where's my luggage? Hold on, where's like my outfits? And I'm like. So it turns out that she had left her entire luggage at home. So basically, all we had were props: her gowns, her dresses, her lingerie, everything that she brought, that she wanted to bring, she did not bring. And can I just tell you that we had the best shoot ever? Like we made do, we figured it out beyond made do. We created something that we hadn't even conceived of, right? Because we had a different plan, and it was like your speaker not showing up. Like, okay, we have to do something totally different. And it was terrific and it was wonderful. And we had a great shoot and she's getting a great album and everything is fine, you know, but that feeling of I can figure anything out, what a gift is that, you know, to really know that no matter what happens, you're going to be able to figure it out. And I think that for me anyway, it emboldens me to take chances and risks that if I think about it too long, I might not. But the fact that I innately feel I can do anything, you know, if I'm not doing it, it's a choice, right? Like I could be a brain surgeon, but boring, right? That was my choice, right?
Right.
That and my inability to really do math and science, but it's fine because if I really wanted to, I really could, right?
Yeah.
So I love that, being resourceful and trusting yourself. That's a wonderful tweetable.
And that experience, you know, of her forgetting her stuff and also the experience of people canceling day of also both speaks to, you know, initially both of those things could have been judged as bad, terrible, disastrous, and something else was created. What was meant to be was created, and what that was better than what was going to be.
Listen, we had an MC for the event. Like she was MCing the entire event, everything in between all the speakers. So for 2 straight days, the week before she's from Canada originally. She lives in South Florida. She had traveled up to Canada with her husband and kids to see family. Her husband ended up getting ill in the hospital. Long story short, they wouldn't let them leave Canada. She couldn't get a week before our event, she's supposed to be in Nashville and she can't get out of Canada. But what was interesting, and this woman, she's amazing. I love her. She's incredible. She would have been awesome. But what happened was this gentleman that is friends with her and that Kimberly knows, and they've all been kind of working together on the backside. He stepped up and said, I'll come MC it. I got you. No problem. He being there was part of what made the event that people are just like, oh my gosh, that was the most incredible event. And a lot of it was his emceeing and his speaking, just because he was one of like Tony Robbins' top people. I don't even know his whole story. He actually lives in Boca, not far from us. But just like you just said, Julietta, it turned out, I think, even more so than it still would have been amazing with this original woman there, but it turned out even more so because that happened. And we just all kind of went with it. I remember Kimberly, she voice messaged me like the Thursday night before we were leaving to go to Nashville. So like a week before, she's like, so we no longer have so-and-so and he's stepping in. And I'm like, okay. Let's do this. Go for it.
So, probably needed that like touch of masculine energy.
I think so.
The event to bring some balance to it. That's so awesome. I love it.
It was really cool. And he's a younger
guy. I was
guy.
thinking when you said that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. A masculine voice in a feminine space. That's really interesting.
So the interesting part about that, when some of the attendees that have been longtime clients of ours started hearing this, there was a few of them that were like, I'm not really thrilled about this guy. Like, what's going on with it? Like, she came up to me and she's like, I have to tell you, I was not excited about this. She's like, but holy cow. She's like, totally don't feel like he's incredible. I'm like, yeah, he's really incredible. So yeah, I think it just gave it that nice little balance and that breakup because that feminine energy in those hundreds of women, and it can be a lot, right?
And it's something I talk about all the time. And it really started hitting home from my first trip to Egypt and the messages being downloaded from the goddesses and Horus a little bit, but mostly it was the goddesses saying, like, it's about balance. It's about balance. It's about balance. And it doesn't take much to create the balance. And I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity to question if something makes you feel uncomfortable. Why does it make you feel uncomfortable, right? Like to just pause for just a second and say, well, why am I opposed to this? And really dig into, like, am I opposed to it because I really should be, or because I'm carrying something, right? Like, I'm one person that I wear all my emotions and all my thoughts. Like, I have 9 arms, like all my sleeves. And so for me, I'm constantly hyper alert to, oh, something is making me uncomfortable. And again, it always takes me a little pause to be like, let me check why. Is it really something I should worry about? Or is it that I'm telling myself an old story, right? So I think that's very powerful that you guys had a male speaker. How exciting.
Yeah, it was very cool.
I wish I could have gone to this conference. It sounds amazing. I've been to the Gaylord Opryland. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
Gaylord hotels are amazing.
You know what? It's one of those things. I've been there before for a conference years ago when I was with Cabi, the clothing company, and I think it's beautiful, and I love like the whole the street area, that looks like a little town, like it's me. But when I tell you, I think I walked over 20 miles a day. I'm not being like, I'm being dead. Because of what I was doing, because I was like running from point A to point B to Z to D to P. Like I was all over the place. And the first day, within about 30 to 40 minutes, I had already walked almost 4 miles. I was like, okay, well, this is an interesting time. So yes, the Gaylord is beautiful, but it's huge, as you well know. It's huge. Like, it's apparently the largest the largest non-casino hotel in the United States. I did find that out.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
7 acres and over 2,000 rooms, guest rooms.
Wow,
I believe it. Well, your heart will thank you for doing.
Oh, that. I know. I was like, well, that was a good workout for 3 days.
You didn't have to worry that you didn't have the dogs making you walk every day.
So true. So true.
Oh man,
how exciting for you.
Allyson, at the end of the show, we always ask our guests, what's one takeaway that they would want for our audience? I don't even want you to think about this show. I want you to think about all of your time here on Voices of the Goddess. What is the takeaway you want for the audience?
Okay, my takeaway is being open to change. And sometimes what you think is your path ends up not being the path, and just be open to that possibility. Because if I wouldn't have said yes to Kimberly, if I wouldn't have said, like the moment I lost that job at the pandemic, if I wouldn't have looked at it and gone, okay, well, something else is going to come along. And then you and I started talking and I said yes to a podcast. Like if I hadn't done all that, and I never would have, like, I had thought about doing a podcast, but I never thought I could. Like that mean girl was saying, why would anyone listen to your podcast? That whole murr in your ear. But I think it's just being open to the possibilities that are there, and just to say yes. Not to say yes to every single thing people ask you to do, because we as women are really bad about that, but saying yes to opportunities, and that you just never know when something is going to be exactly where you're supposed to be.
I love it.
Perfect message for everybody. And as we're getting towards the end of winding down the show, now it's like when I'm getting like teared up, choked up here.
I can't wait to listen to you guys every week. So I get to, and I'll, if you guys ever need a guest host, I'll be a guest host.
Awesome. Would love that. And I was also thinking too, like, down the road, we probably will want you to come back again and be a guest on the show again.
Yeah, of course.
And
you guys are going to be amazing.
Cool stuff going on in your life that you'll always have great nuggets of wisdom to bring and share with the audience. And now that we're at the end of the show, I couldn't say it at the beginning because it would have made me cry. Now I'm like, all right, it's fine if I start crying now. But thank you so much
Oh, you make me cry. At least I get to give you a hug later today.
Yes, I'm glad we're going to see each other later. But it's been such a magical journey doing this with you. So thank you.
Okay. I love you.
Love you too.
In all these years, I've never seen you shed a tear.
I've shed a few, but mostly I keep them in check because it's not as personal as this. So.
I know. I love you. I'm so glad that we could do this. And it's going to be incredible. And you and Graciela
It's
are
been
going
an
to be
amazing
amazing.
journey. And so grateful to Graciela now for saying yes too, so we can keep this going. It's going to be amazing. And thank you for our listeners. I haven't looked at the latest total, but we are getting close to 10,000 downloads of the podcast.
Yay!
Yeah, it's been, I was hoping we would get to 10,000 before recording this episode. We're just a few hundred shy, which is completely amazing to me. You know, that people, I told Graciela, you have to, Graciela thinks that like everybody knows her that knows us, but locally, yes, but our audience is so huge and global. Like, you know, a whole new world is going to open up to knowing Graciela and her amazing gifts that she has as well. And so,
what I love the most about today and every day of what you guys have created is this authenticity. The fact that it is a space where you can celebrate and cry and celebrate while crying all at the same time. So thank you guys for creating this 2 years ago. Allyson, a debt of gratitude. I will do my best to fill your very, very big shoes.
You'll be awesome.
And the fact that Julietta cried before me is amazing because I'm a professional crier. So this is going to be a really fun adventure for us for sure.
You guys will be.
We're all born crying. It's our natural state.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better. I cry at everything. I cry at commercial. It's awful. It's awful.
I believe it was Edgar Allan Poe who said, "True beauty cannot be contained. And this is why you cry when you see something incredibly beautiful." So it's okay.
It is the one physical manifestation of emotion that everybody can see.
Absolutely. And conveniently cleans out your tear ducts. So there's a plus.
It makes your makeup run. Now I'm like, we got 3 more episodes to record today, and hopefully it's not too bad.
Girl, look at me. I am ready. Look, I brought my mirror. I'm like, let me double check.
Oh my God.
I'm ready. I got my old lady fan in case I get hot. You know, I got that.
Oh man,
you guys are so close to each other. You should do an episode where you're together.
Yeah,
you know, like sitting next to each other.
We did one like that, didn't we?
We did one like that, yeah. But I think you should do it at Graciela's studio. That would be cool.
We'll see. We'll see what comes up.
Big stuff happening there too. So,
anyway,
all right. Let's wrap up the show. I want to say just more thanks. Thank you to Allyson. Thank you to Graciela. Thank you to our audience. And we'll see you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.